What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Seams, where we bring hitters and pitchers together to talk about the game so it can grow. I'm really excited about this episode. You're going to love it. Let's get going. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the next edition of Inside the Seams, where we bring hitters and pitchers together to just get better. So today with us, obviously got my boy Zing on here. Always love to get to talk to him. But also, man, I got two awesome people on here that are just have done so much for the game, and I'm really excited for what their thumbprint is going to be going forward. And so, yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. Parents, coaches, this will be a really good one for you to listen to probably 10, 15, 20 times, because it'll just be really, really good. These guys are very wise, just know how to develop players, but then also know how to communicate things to both sides, right? As far as the player and the parent. And so these guys have been there and done that. I'm really excited to hear what they have to say, right? So we have Nate Headley, and then we also got Bobby Bramhall. So I've known Nate for a good while. Nate is the hitting guy that nobody knows about except all of the elite hitting coaches in the world. So we all go to Nate for just about everything, right? Pretty much every player that I've had or I look at or recruiting or anything, I'm like, hey, send it to Nate. Like, hey, what are your thoughts? Like, don't BS me. Like, where can he improve? Where can he do all this stuff? And he does that for pretty much anybody you've ever heard of, as far as in the hitting world. And so he's a goat, and just excited to have both these guys on and let them kind of just drop some knowledge on you. So guys, I'd love for you guys just to introduce yourselves. So I guess we can start with Nate, and then Bobby, you can follow up, and love to hear from you.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm Nate Headley. Based out of Knoxville now. Grew up in Colorado. Brother played in the big leagues for 10 years. Obviously, we're a baseball family. This is what we do for a living. And about 3 years ago, Bobby and I kind of sat down and had talked about, potentially putting something together, and as far as a book to impact not just players but help parents along the way, and trying to navigate the career of players at all ages. And just released a book called Who's on First, and basically it's a guide for players from T-ball all the way up through pro ball. I'll let Bob get a little bit into kind of how we met and the background of this, and then we'll dig a little bit further into the guts of the book and exactly what's in there and what players and parents can expect. So Bob, I'll pass it off to you. You've got a way better playing track record than I do, so I'll let you take over from here and kind of introduce how this all came about, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. Hey guys, my name is Bobby Bramhall. I am the president and co-founder of Athlete Licensing Company. So we're based in Nashville, Tennessee. So we do a lot of NIL transactions and have a tech platform basically to help this new age of name, image, and likeness in college sports. But I played pro ball for 7 years. I was an All-American at Rice, left-handed pitcher, and played in 2 College World Series, and then got to play with 4 different MLB organizations and in Puerto Rico, which was my favorite stop because of the culture there and the way that they just love the game. So at the end of my career, I was looking at what to do. What do you do at the end of your career whenever you've only done baseball your whole life? And so went ahead and went to law school to become a sports attorney, to understand how to read and write, and then also use that to apply back to sports and specifically baseball. So when Nate and I got together, in 2014, I was getting into law school, and he really helped me actually get over the hump of getting in. There were guys that I needed to meet, and ladies as well, to get into the University of Tennessee. And so we became really close 2014 to 2017 while I was in school, hanging out, camping. In addition to Nate's hitting knowledge, y'all should know that he's the best outdoorsman around. He has the rooftop tent knowledge. He's got all the camping knowledge, turkey hunting, deer hunting, you name it, he's got it. So I learned a lot from him in the mountains of Tennessee down there, and I just really enjoyed my time in Knoxville. So when we were getting together to write this book, it was one of these deals where I had been out of the game for a few years, and what I knew was not necessarily current with the current travel baseball circuit, private baseball instruction, and everything that happens from that very youth level up until college and high school ball. And so I knew from the college and high school up through pro ball. So we got together, and with his brother's knowledge too, we were able to really put together something special for parents, because what we found is all we get is asked questions all night. You do lessons all day, you do your job all day, and then parents call you and text you all night trying to understand how to navigate. Like, what do I do here? What's the decision I need to make? And it really doesn't have anything to do with a specific hitting mechanic or pitching mechanic. It has to do more with, I don't know what the decision to make. I don't know if I'm spending the right money. I don't know how to save money on the road with all these expensive travel costs and tournament fees and things like that. And so we felt that putting together a guide, basically from little league to the big leagues, interviewing big leaguers and talking about every single level along the way of what people don't necessarily know sitting in the stands, is really the best way to allow a ball player to succeed these days. Because it seems that what you don't know is what hurts you. You've got to understand more than what you can learn in a batting cage or on a mound with an instructor that's great. You got to know where to go find them and who's the best resource that's going to make your career better. So when we got together, it was pretty exciting because we both had reasons for writing the book. And I remember I reached out to him and he's like, I'm in, let's go. And so I sent him like 30 questions to start. And those 30 questions, he came back with more information than I could have ever even researched on my own. And so we were off to the races. Before I pass it back off, I'll tell you a really fun story. So during COVID, we had already started the book in October 2019, I guess was when we first started. And COVID happened. Well, I was living back in Knoxville. And so he said, I'll just start coming over. So he'd get up at 6 a.m. before his day started, and we would write from like 7 a.m. until noon every single day during that COVID shutdown. And we just really put together a great blueprint and outline on this book that over the next 2 or 3 years, I was able to fill in and Nate was able to fill in, and we were able to make really rich with content and flow. But man, those first, I'd say 2 or 3 months of COVID, that's where we knocked this thing out. And we really wanted to make something valuable whenever the world was shut down and nobody was allowed to meet in teams and do hitting lessons and things like that. So thanks for having us on, guys. And I appreciate you letting me introduce myself.
Absolutely, man. And I think that what's cool about the way you guys go about things, what's cool about you, who you guys are as people, is that it's really just, the ability to give with no strings, right, attached. It's just a really big thing. I think it's super important and it's very rare. And so, I just think it's really cool because I think I tell Nate this all the time, like that we forget that how much people don't know of what we know, right? And it's such a second language to us. I wouldn't even say sometimes it's almost a first language, right? It flows and and so many people just don't get that, right? There's so much information, but there's very little discussion about how to filter that information, right? Because it's just, within 5 minutes you can know a lot about a subject just through a Google search, right? But if you don't know how to translate that part, if you don't know how to filter it, what the filter needs to look like, it's almost a waste of time, right? Because now you just have a bunch of stuff clouding up your gray matter, which makes it annoying, right? So I love what you guys are doing, and I know that a lot of it's just come from experience and passion and stuff like that. So I guess I'll just throw this question out, and we'll kind of just start conversating about it a little bit. So Nate, like obviously, like you guys are a baseball family, right? Bobby, you've been around baseball, but like a ton, right? But like, what's your favorite part about this game, right? What keeps you wanting, right? Because you guys could help in anything. Either one of you could do whatever you wanted, right? You're that intelligent, you're that quality of a human, like. So what about baseball like keeps you there? Why do you love? Why does that love stay there? Where did that kind of start for both of you or either one of you?
Yeah, well, I'll take that first. I think, like I said, on our end, baseball has been something that is, really provided for our family for years now, and kind of what we've done. And it wasn't something that, my dad wasn't a high level baseball player. My mom didn't play softball. It was just, it was something that it was an area for us to escape. Like it was something that both of us my brother and I were good at. He obviously was way better because he played in the big leagues for 10 years. I will say I feel like I still have better hitting knowledge than he does when it comes to how the body moves. And I don't even think he'll debate that. He's coaching high school baseball now, so he'll call me up and ask me about hitters. And that's what's cool, man. Like, that's the cool part about baseball is there's guys that have played in the big leagues that, you know, some of the best hitters of all time, when you sit and talk hitting with them, like, they're not very good as far as understanding how the swing works and what they're trying to do with it, because simply they don't have to think that much. They're God gifted in the fact that, you know, a perfect example, Adrian Gonzalez, when Chase was in San Diego, a lot of times he would hit with Adrian and Chase would ask all these questions. And, you know, at one point in time, Chase was telling me a story and he was like, man, I'm just going to stop you there. He's like, if my lower half feels slow and I feel under control of my forward move, I'm right where I want to be. And that's all I worry about. And he also had a chance to hit with Tony Gwynn. And, you know, Tony Gwynn was palm up, palm down through extension and have a really good pair of thick batting gloves. So, you know, and I think that's kind of ultimately what ties into this book is, you know, Bobby can sit here and tell you what the grind is, man. I mean, his story is insane. We'll let him get a little bit in depth. And obviously we talk about it a ton in the book, but like the stuff that he has gone through at, you know, the amateur level, the high school level, the college level, the professional level is something that there's no outline for that. There's nothing out there that tells you how to deal with this stuff. And that's ultimately what we try to do. This is what I do on a daily basis. I work with hitters. I coach on the field. I coached in college. I coached in the SEC. Like, so having the ability to pass on information from years of experience of literally coaching 8-year-olds up to, you know, 32-year-olds in professional baseball, you know, we felt like we had something that no one else had really had and anyone had put out there. So what we wanted to do is just give parents a guide, man. I mean, after I finish a lesson, I'll have parents ask me a question about whatever it is, whether it be the travel ball circuit, finding pitching instruction, you know, setting schedules for travel ball, whatever it may be. And instead of me spending 20 minutes after a lesson, now we've got a product we can hand to them and say, hey, man, for, you know, $18, you can have our paperback, or $40, you can have our hardcover, and literally help guide you from T-ball all the way up through pro ball. And that's ultimately what we wanted to do, man, because the questions that the parents are asking are the questions that we didn't have answers for growing up. So what we wanted to do is just provide a platform in which parents could go to research. And it's not a book that necessarily everyone's going to sit down and open the cover and read cover to cover in 3 sittings. This is a book that you're going to have, you know, hopefully on your table or somewhere where you can access to help with every aspect of finding an instructor, what a quality travel ball program looks like, when do we need to start going to showcases, at what age is it time for us to get away from parents coaching our teams, how to find an agent, what a quality agent looks like, what they do for you, all the way up to dealing with retirement in your career and understanding that, like, that's a whole nother lifestyle. And
Yep.
Bobby talks about this a lot. I mean, it's 2 deaths. You know, professional athletes have, you know, when they're done playing baseball, that their identity that they've known for 20 plus years is completely gone.
That's right.
And I can sit here and vouch like what my brother went through and how tough it was on the family when, you know, you're not around them constantly for 6-7 months of the year, and then you're together all the time. Like, it doesn't matter how much you love your family, you're going to butt heads, and it's different. So, you know, like I said, what we wanted to do is just provide you know, some sort of guideline and something for parents to go to access information of the hundreds of thousands of questions that they're going to ask over the course of the career of their athlete, and really know where to go get it. And it was really the first thing that's been put on the market, I think, that goes in depth as far as from beginning of the career to end of the career. So, but I'll let Bob expand on that a little bit. I'd love for him to get into his story, man, because all the injuries and everything that he's dealt with, it's pretty impressive. He's one of the most impressive guys I've ever been around, and honored to call him a friend and a colleague. And we're excited to get this book out to the masses.
Love it.
Thanks, man. I do appreciate that. We go a long way back now, almost 10 years, and it's exciting to see how far we've come in our knowledge in the game, and then also just our friendship. So thank you very much. So for me, baseball was attention to detail. It was at a very young age. I had an opportunity we won the Little League State Championship and played Lastings Millage of all people, and to go to the Little League World Series and things like that. And so I've had a really fun career going up. but was privileged to play at Rice. And that's when things kind of changed to realize who I needed to be to compete at the pro level. It wasn't just oh, you're a good high school player anymore. And so for me, it was the new variables every day that change in the game. And I didn't ever know that the lifestyle changed until pro ball, right? So that's what I wanted to tell parents in this book is that you get to pro ball and your whole life changes. It has nothing to do with the game. It's about surviving the lifestyle that contributes to the game. So we even talk about, emotional stability in the book because it's so important. I've seen a guy lay under the stalls in a bathroom kicking after giving up like 8 runs in an inning. His girlfriend had dumped him. I mean, it was like, dude, you got to get up off the ground. You're licking the toilet, and you've got to get back on the field and understand this is about your strength on the inside. There's so many things that people don't understand how hard it is when you get there. For me, the camaraderie was huge. It's the friends that I remember competing with. I mean, you go to battle with them. And I had a coach that used to say that all competition in baseball is a civilized warfare. I mean, these are the guys you're in the trenches with, and you come out and you say, there's nobody I want to be around except for the guys that I have journeyed through it with and that understand my every thought and everything I've ever accomplished. So that was big for baseball for me. To hit on what Nate keeps saying, I had an interesting career. I came back, I had LASIK early in my baseball career into college thinking I was going to be the next Tiger Woods with 2015 vision. And I ended up having a really bad surgery. So after my freshman year, I couldn't see the ball and all kinds of bad stuff. And I ended up coming back and being more of a pitcher after that. And so because I was able to kind of find a new position as a left-handed pitcher, it kind of restarted my career in a way that I had a new passion for it. And then when I got in pro ball, oddly enough, I had Tommy John. I was a starter in AA with the Brewers and doing really well. And then I had TJ, and the TJ messed up somehow. So I had to go to Andrews in Birmingham and get it fixed. So just those battles, it's nothing different than other people face with, cancer or other kind of disease. I mean, we all have things we need to overcome. But specifically for me in baseball, I had to navigate in a way that nobody knew how to come back from a second Tommy John. I actually had my best year of my career after my second Tommy John. I just wasn't a prospect anymore. It was, you've got a 1-2 in the Southern League and nobody cares because you're an old man, So those things, you navigate and you learn and you end up being able to teach it because you become such an expert at understanding like how this works and politically what you could have done to improve. So had I known this or had I known that or had this agent or whatever it may be. I remember my agent who finished my career with me, his name is Jonathan Maurer. He's with MSM and he represents Josh Harrison and had some Brandon Webb and Zach Logue and some big guys in the past. Well, he was a guy that really cared about who I was and my story. And so within a week of him bringing me in, I was in AAA. And it's just like realizing how important those relationships are to your career. No matter how good you're doing or how bad you're doing, they're the guys that are surviving the storm with you. So those experiences made me feel that we have got to write this book. Parents need to know this. And it's not just you're the best little league player and all of a sudden you're on TV one day. There's so much in between. So
I love that.
I'll say for now. Yeah, thanks.
I love that. That's great. And I think even just simply knowing the questions to ask, whatever age that is, I think is so key, right? I don't work with tons of young kids, but I've got a kid that I've been with for 3 or 4 years, and his dad gets it, right? He played professional basketball overseas, and he just gets it, right? He's a just very calm, level-headed guy, and he stuck with a team that he was on for a little while, and so he came to me and he said, we met with these guys to move over the team. So I asked them these questions and I said, look, none of those questions are bad, but all of those questions, those coaches have heard before and they're ready to give you a canned response. And so what I would ask is these types of questions, right? Like, how many weekends off do you have, right? Like, are you dedicating this to them learning how to play the game, right? Are you going to pigeonhole him into one position, or is he going to be able to do this? Is he going to be able to do that? Are you going to bench him, right? Are you going to make him learn how to get past failure, right? Like, how do you deal with stress? Like all of these things because whether you're 11, 22, or 33, like a coach has a special place, even if they're just not even if they don't embrace that role, right? You've got a special place to be able to just speak into people's lives and really make an impact, right? And so I think, like I told him, I was like, man, that's more what you're checking for, is not perfection, not even close, right? But I told him, I was like, ask him if he says he's sorry after he blows up at a kid. Ask him if he says that, right? Ask him if he gets somebody thrown out, does he say, hey, that was my bad, right? Because it's just because, man, the end of the career part, I think that's the most overlooked part. We let these guys go on the TV, and they make money. I'm not saying that, but right, that they're somewhat used and discarded, right? Once it's, well, you're kind of here, your numbers are kind of here, we're gonna move on. We made a lot of money off of you, but thanks. It's a vacuum, right? It's just, the thing about athletes, and I don't think it's any different than other people, right? I think ours is just more prolific because you have to be, you have to be dedicated to practice. You have to be dedicated to other things to make it, right? And then when it ends, you have nowhere to funnel all of that stuff, right? Because that aggression, that grind, that ferocity, all that stuff, there's nowhere to funnel it. Well, there is, right? But what has always been isn't anymore. And I think that's why I love what you guys are doing, because it just, it gives the game a perspective, and it's not just because I feel like a lot of times now, like playing college ball is just an accomplishment. Well, if I take lessons and I get on a team, I'm going to play college. And it's like, it's still very difficult to stick in college. It's still absolutely difficult. And so, I think that's why I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. I think it's super important. And I know John's like super big on that. John, you can tell some of your story, but I'll tell some of it because I love hearing it. But so John, I mean, John got told he had an injury that he wasn't going to come back from, right? And John's been through the gauntlet, right? He's probably played in just about, all these like awesome, cool leagues. He's been everywhere, right? But he just what I love about John is how he responded after his career, right? And he just like dug in and he funneled that. So that's why, John, you can hit on any of that or none of that if you want. But man, I think I love it. I love what y'all do with that. It's such a big thing.
Cool. I mean, I think this is the first time I've heard of this resource, but it's something that would also help places like Fuel Factory, because there's only so many hours in a day, and I literally put my phone on do not disturb mode because there's no time to take all the phone calls and it would literally be a separate business. All the phone calls, all the questions from the parents and the kids. And it's awesome that you guys are doing this. I know it's something I wish I would have had too. So
yeah, I love that. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of one of the biggest things we're trying to do now is just, we're about 3 weeks into the launch. We've reached out to Perfect Game. We're reaching out to as many, facilities around the country that we can, just trying to get the word out, man. I mean, that's the biggest thing is, we put 3 years into this project, and honestly, it probably would have been closer to 4 or 5 years if I don't want to say thankfully for COVID, but as far as us being able to attack this thing head on, and being a little bit more aggressive is our ability to write. I mean, and that was one of the things I think Bob and I struggled with the most is like, we would grind, like you said, from, 7 a.m. till noon. And it's like, at some point in time, like you gotta let the brain rest a little bit. So, we would try to set guidelines for as far as like, once we got to the point where, it started to get a little bit muddled and it was being forced, we had to step back and say, hey, like, let's get back at this after this tomorrow. So I think just getting the word out there, and obviously that's, we're super appreciative for you guys having us on here, just because you obviously have a tremendous social media following and love what you guys do. I mean, as far as social media content on the hitting side goes, man, there's not a lot of guys out there that do it as well or better than you. So, just being able to, get a product out to let people know that this is out there, because it wasn't out there. There was never anything like it. And, I think that, you were talking about one of the players that you were talking with his dad about, trying to find quote unquote the right fit. And I think that's ultimately the goal, because, I tell parents all the time, we talk about this in the book, that it's not about finding the best team for him to play on. It's about finding the team that's the best fit for him.
Mm-hmm.
If he's the best player on the team, it's not going to push him. He's not going to get better.
Sure.
If he's the worst player on the team and he's sitting on the bench and not getting at bats, he's not getting better. So just sheer finding a place in an environment where the kid is going to be able to develop, he's going to get pushed. And unfortunately, a lot of times too, like, it doesn't boil down to just the kid. I mean, ultimately, when we have issues with players on these travel ball teams, or even youth rec teams for that matter, like, you got to understand what your role is as a parent. And that's one thing that Bob and I wanted to make sure we did with this book, is every single chapter, every step of the way, we have a parent etiquette session or section in it where it explains exactly, what your role is. And that role is a lot smaller than a lot of parents believe. Yeah. And they need to understand that, because they can take away opportunities and take away, potentially a really good fit for a team that would, expand opportunities and open up doors that, wouldn't be there if they're not playing for them. But ultimately, finding a team that you're going to have quality development, you're getting at a young age, not, and you mentioned it earlier, not playing specifically one position, because you never know. I mean, when you get to college, it's a matter of, if you're an infielder, chances are you're a middle infielder or you're a corner infielder. So you're pigeonholed into competing for two positions. If you have the ability to be a true utility guy where you can compete for three positions in the outfield and two positions in the infield, now we're talking about, you got 5 different spots, plus your DH role, where, you have a chance to be in that lineup. And a lot of times, incoming freshmen don't have that opportunity because of that. So they don't understand that, the decisions they make from the ages of, 6, 7, 8 years old, all the way up to, 15, 16 years old, how much that impacts what's going to potentially happen to them at the college level, whatever that level may be. And that's another thing that I feel like, and it's this day and age, when it comes to parents looking for and trying to help make the decision of where a kid's going to go to school, it's so frustrating on my end when I hear a parent say, well, my son's a high academic kid and I don't really want him going to a junior college. And it's like, all right, we'll step off the pedestal for a second here and understand that, where they're getting their associate's degree in the grand scheme of things, literally nobody has ever asked that. I've got an undergraduate in accounting. I've got a master's degree in sports management. Bob's got his law degree. Like, we're going to sit here and tell you, and you guys probably can all expand on this as well. Nobody has ever asked me where I got my associate's degree, ever. And that doesn't matter. If you're truly wanting to have the best opportunity for your athlete to play this game as long as possible, then a lot of guys need to understand that JUCO is a really, really good route for them. Or going to be a big fish in a smaller pond makes a lot of sense for that athlete, because they're going to have a chance to get in and play right away. I've got dudes that play for our 16U team that are extremely, extremely, extremely talented players that, they're okay with going to an SEC program and competing and not having any guarantee of them ever stepping on the field. And then I have other players on that team that if I sent them to a Power 5 program, they would be gone in a year because they would be miserable not being on the field. And it's just truly getting to understand what's important for, not just our athletes as a coach, but parents trying to step back and hear something coming from people that are industry professionals that understand, like, hey, I can tell you stories of success and failure on both ends of things, and really ultimately having a guide and something to go to say, hey, this is how we weigh those pros and cons. It's something that we feel is one of the many things that is extremely beneficial in the book.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Bob, I don't know
Yeah, go ahead.
Bob, I don't know if you wanted to expand on anything specifically in the book that, has kind of not really been out there yet.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think something that's important is to add, what, as far as and this can go for either one or both. Like, I'd love to hear both. But what are maybe like the top couple of principles that you think is the most misinformation is out there about, right? Like what types of things do people continue to miss on because of lack of knowledge?
We had a lot of fun writing the strength and conditioning chapter with Herman Demick. And he's a guy, he played at Clemson, played with the Phillies, and he's so big time in the baseball training realm that there was a lot of myths that we put in the book that showed like, this is what your even strength coaches in pro ball will say, but it's actually not true. And so a lot of misconceptions about overhead throwing athletes and how strong they need to be. And even strength and conditioning, a lot of pitchers are trained like to be, Boston marathoners. And why in the world are pitchers not trained to be explosive, big, chunky, hard throwing, explosive guys? So that was fun because he got it. He already understood the things that Nate and I had already been thinking about. And he knew exactly how to put that into words and say, this is how you get better, specific to your position. So we go through, position specific training and arm care. We also go through some of the tools out there, like the Win Reality virtual trainer and some things that people don't understand what to do or what gimmicky things they're buying. So we put them in those credible resources, such as the hit tracks and things that if you did invest that money, you are going to get a benefit from. So we're trying to direct these parents into these misconceptions that they're just getting from Instagram and all these ads they're seeing to see exactly where they need to go, the resources they need to direct themselves to. I'll say one of the misconceptions about professional baseball is I devoted an entire chapter to it, and I called it my law review in the middle of our book. It took about 6 months to write because I wanted to get it perfectly correct. But, the minor league baseball and Major League Baseball the minor leaguers just settled recently on that lawsuit that talks about, fair wage and all of the pay discrepancies from, fair labor standards in the United States and in minor league baseball. And, minor leaguers are the only exempt corporation basically that's able to, Major League Baseball is able to underpay minor leaguers for. And so in the book, I went through the history of why the exemption exists, and then what the current standards are and where they need to go. And, that Garrett Brocious lawsuit that named Aaron Sinney as the plaintiff and brought him in, that's been the most amazing thing because it's gotten so much publicity that it's educating the general public that something like that can't exist in the United States. It's not okay for baseball. It's not okay for baseball players, and it's not okay for the future of the game. And so for a multi-billion-dollar industry to treat players, I think I made $2.46 per hour my first year in pro ball. That's not okay. And so we love the game, but there are things in the game that need to change when it becomes a business. And so if you want to make money off a business, you treat your employees right.
That's right.
So that was one of my best misconceptions that we were able to clearly discuss in the book. And it was exciting to write because we were able to say, this is how we want it to be, proposals for positive, change. And then this is how it was. And let's all work to be, better stewards of the game, whether you're on the business side or on the field, trying to make the money playing the game.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'll touch on a little bit, Bobby went into it a little bit and you mentioned it as well, Cam. There are a lot of resources out there available on social media this day and age. And it's a really, really good thing. And it's a really, really bad thing. And, understanding that every single drill out there is a tremendous drill, and every drill out there is a god awful drill. I explain it like this: if you're sick, whatever it is, whatever you've come down with, and you walked into a pharmacy, and every single pill bottle or whatever it is medicine they have on the shelves has no label on it, you have a chance of picking up a bottle that's going to help you and make you healthy, but you have just as good of a chance, and probably a better chance, of taking something that's going to make you a lot more sick or kill you. And I think ultimately, these players that are, searching for, what's going to ultimately be that magic that changes their career or changes their swings or changes their ability to pound the zone on the mound, like there's no magic pill with that. Truly getting to understand how you move as an athlete and what works best for you, and staying locked in on understanding that how you move, being aware of what you're trying to do to stay at your very best is ultimately what it boils down to. It's like when you go to a buffet line, you don't go in and take everything on the buffet line. You're like, man, I like that. That keeps me healthy. I don't like that. I'm going to leave that. And really going through and understanding the resources out there that And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every resource is perfect for everybody. You know, there's going to be certain drills that I have on my page, or Cam, you have on your page. Like, you have to understand what the purpose of that is, and does it fit what makes you good? Is it something that's going to allow you to continue to progress and get better? And also, and it's not, there's nothing wrong with trying different things. There's nothing wrong with experimenting. Matter of fact, like, I feel like that's where a lot of hitters go wrong. They're like, oh, well, you know, I'm a toe tap guy. I don't even want to think about a leg kick. Well, how do you know you don't like a leg kick if you've never actually tried a leg kick? So really, ultimately, you know, giving these hitters really good resources, and pitchers for that matter. You know, we have, you know, these social media follows that we have in our book that, you know, provide guidance to guys that we've followed, we've studied their stuff, we trust, and trying to point, you know, guys in the proper direction as far as, hey, these guys have good information on their page. And it stinks because, I mean, you deal with this all the time too, Cam. Like, you'll have some 16-year-old kid from, you know, Washington State hop on your page and run his mouth about, oh, this drill is terrible, all you're doing is ruining hitters, or maybe you should actually swing a bat instead of a piece of PVC pipe. And instead of actually digging into and reading through what the value of the drill is and the whole purpose behind it. So, you know, I think that's one thing too, that, you know, we're trying to provide some clarity as far as who's doing things the right way. And then ultimately being able to make that decision on your own too, and what to look for. Because I feel like I'll have hitters come in and they'll be like, oh, hey, did you see this video that Propel hitting had on his page, or Out Front Hitting had on their page? And, you know, I tried it and it was terrible. And I'm like, okay, well, fine, good. That doesn't mean they're bad at what they do. That just means that drill's not good for you. And I think that so often hitters get scared off by something that feels different because they've never done it. And ultimately, you know, we're trying to provide some guidance as far as it's okay to fail and it's okay to try new stuff.
Yeah, that's wise. And I think that's where baseball as a whole has got to grow, right? Is just the ability to, just try it. It doesn't mean that you have to like it, but it may push you outside of a box that you need to be outside of. And that's okay too, right? It's never, you know, that's why we have such a bond, right? Like, it's never about who does it. It's never about who gets it. It's just about, did you get it? Do you understand? Are you past this? Can you keep yourself out of a slump? That's what I always say, is like, now I want hitters that don't slump. Like, take everything else. You can have, everybody else can have everything else. I want hitters that don't slump, right? You're going to go 1 for 12, but 1 for 12 is not a slump, right? And so, I think that's super important. And, you know, in my opinion, you can tell the genuine ones from not. It's just, I think that's the key, right? It's just like, you can tell the people that are being open-handed, and you can tell the people that are being, well, look, I got a pill in here. You wanna buy it? You wanna buy it? You wanna buy 2 pills? And so, like, I think that's a huge key, man. I love that. I love the Joller.
I think as far as the slumping goes, let's address that a little bit. Bob, do you want to go into our mental aspect a little bit as far as what we cover in the book there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did a mental performance chapter because we believe that so much of it starts up in the brain, right? So how we approach the game is just as important sometimes as our physical tools.
That's
like
right.
I know certain parts of my career, I was not good enough to be there, but I was able to find a way to get outs. And so I was able to extend my career because I understood some certain things. Like, I threw 6 changeups in a row in the College World Series one time because I knew there was no way my fastball was going to beat this one hitter. So, like, little things that you can prepare for really can translate to success on the field. We go through, you know, the importance of visualization. A lot of folks don't know that, you know, if you can visualize something happening, your brain is going to create a way to make it successful. And so rather than taking 100 hacks in the cage, spend some time in front of a mirror or watching the best hitters and figure out how you're going to do it before you start taking your hacks. I mean, that's so important. I would say meditation. I mean, quieting the mind and finding a quiet place to just think about nothing allows your brain to recover and heal and be receptive to the new information and where you're trying to go. Another part we talk about is like the importance of sleep. So sleep is not only muscle recovery, but it's like neurological recovery. It actually trains you from the day before of everything you learned. Your brain flushes the old stuff that didn't matter and brings in the new stuff that does. And so it's an active time where you're getting better. So we go through those things, and people don't realize how important that mental performance is to supplement their game and their weightlifting and their hacks in the cage or throws, on a long toss session. And so that was super important to realize that you have got to take care of that first, and then it translates to the success on the physical side.
I love that.
I think that's one thing that's so cool about our book too, is the fact that, part of the title of the book, I mean, it's called Who's On First, but, the subtitle is Everything a Baseball Parent Needs to Know. But, we want athletes to understand this isn't just a book for the parents. This is, when we get further into the book, we go into the nutrition, we go into sleep, we go into meditation, we go into strength and conditioning. And, at a young age, when kids are 8 to 12 years old or 8 to 15 years old, there's only so many decisions that these kids are really, truly able to make on their own. Now, obviously, we just discussed the value of keeping, their player / athlete in the decision-making portion of, whatever that decision is, because I feel like ultimately you start to allow athletes to be held accountable that way.
That's right.
And when you do that at a younger age, they tend to mature more as an athlete earlier on. But you still want to provide guidance for the parent that doesn't know what the heck they're doing, because honestly, man, in the grand scheme of things, most of these athletes at this age, like, a lot of them aren't baseball guys or softball moms for that matter. They're a parent trying to provide an opportunity and a platform for, number one, their kid to have fun, stay healthy, stay off the streets. But, most of these kids and the parents that are buying these books, like, they're looking for a return on their investment, whether it's in whether it's in strength and conditioning. And what we try to do is just provide guidance and, hey, this is going to keep you on the right road. That doesn't mean everybody's road's the same. It's all going to be different. But having a general guideline and what to look for, I think is so important. And that's the great part about the book, is we get into the details of, nutrition and strength and conditioning and meditation, which is where, this book is going to be a great read for an athlete. But earlier on in the career, that this is a great read for parents to keep them going, to get them to that point. So I think that's what's so different about our product, that, really nobody's ever put on the market, and what we're so proud of, and honestly just eager to get it out to as many people as possible. I mean, people will come in and pay anywhere from, $45 to, $75 or $100 for a 30-minute lesson. You can buy a $17.99 paperback book that's going to be, and that was one of the hard things that we had a hard time with, as far as how do we value this book? What do we price it at? Because if you look at the best-selling books on the market, New York Times bestsellers, like, nobody prices a book above, 17, 18, $20. And we feel like the value and the energy and time and resources we put in this is worth far, far more than that. So, and we actually we're really close to getting our ebook out. It's the most difficult process on the planet, apparently. But we're really close on that. And man, we feel like the value that parents are going to get out of this thing and athletes are going to get out of this thing is something that hasn't been out there. And we've yet to come across a topic that someone's brought up to us that we haven't covered in the book so far. So that's what we're pretty excited about that.
Well, and I think what's important for you, the people that are listening, to hear in this is that when you listen to quality people, right? You listen to Jon talk, you've heard Jon talk about this in previous episodes. You're hearing, Bobby and Nate talk about this. It's the development of the whole person, right? The athlete and the person are a lot of times one and the same, right? And so you can be really good at the swing. You can be really good on the mound. You can be really good with mechanics, but it's developing that full person and allowing for accountability. I think that is the biggest piece missing in young kids today. I would even say up to through college, right? Like, is the ability to take personal responsibility. It's not that it's terrible, right? They're terrible. it's so hard. And I have 2 girls, right? And so like, it's so hard to let them fail. But there's also something to, you know, being able to look at that person and be like, hey, like, I'm not going to help you. I'm right here. If you catch on fire, right, I got you, right? But like, I'm right here. You can do this. And then it just turns failure into an opportunity, right? And I think that that's something that I want everybody to really hear is the accountability piece. Stop looking for answers and look for a path, right? To walk through and walk on and do that well, right? And I think that, Jon says it all the time. He's like, man, you got to be where your feet are and you got to take responsibility of that all the time. And so, I just really want to encourage everybody that's listening and watching is like, that's what these guys are saying, right? It's like, hey, we're going to take you through this and now you have to take it and do it, right? And we're giving you all these resources and you're taking all these hundreds and thousands of hours of experience and knowledge and all these different things. And so, but now you got to use it. You got to buy into that accountability. It sucks. I don't care who you are. Like, accountability is never like a fun thing. Like, I don't sign up for that. Like, like I sign up to go hang out with my friends. Like, it's not fun, but it's so needed. And I think what it does is it helps you become not offendable, right? So when a college coach, a high school coach, a pro coach, whatever, just freaking rags you or does this, you just don't take it personal, right? It's he's not talking to me as a person. He's talking to me as a baseball player, and they're different. They're totally different, right? And I think that's a huge thing. That's just what I keep hearing you guys say, like overarchingly, right? And I think that's amazing. I love that. The accountability piece is important.
One of the funny things
too, like go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Jon. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think, I'm new to exactly what you guys are doing, but it sounds like it's something that we preach where it's a lifestyle. It's not I heard you say magic pill or magic bullet, where it's like you get parents a lot of times where they think that maybe we're going to hand them something where it's like, okay, now I'm done. And it's like, no, this process literally continues even after you play the game. That's why I love you guys have some stuff in there about after you play, because that's something we deal with all the time here, because you miss the clubhouse. You miss being able to be a dude. You're walking around with 24, 27 dudes wherever you go. That's like it's a lifestyle. And then the only way you can kind of get out of that is to continue to have a lifestyle where maybe you take some of those characteristics and you use adversities and you use failure in life too, because life's just as hard as baseball. I mean, baseball is very challenging. It's great, especially at a young age, but I mean, a lot of the stuff I've had to go through off the field has been just as hard, if not harder. So I think the game just helps prepare us for that. And if we have a healthy lifestyle, if you will, where, meditation and we're eating right and we're sleeping right and we're taking care of ourselves, we have a better chance to stand up and be ourselves.
Amen.
I think one of the funny things, the ironic part of this whole conversation we're having now, we all touched on failure. And the funny thing so when Bob and I first wrote the initial book, the initial version of the book, that was literally the first thing we covered, was dealing with failure and understanding how you deal with failure is ultimately going to determine how long and how far you go in this game. And it was funny, one of the first edits of the however God many edits we did have was a baseball guy, quote unquote baseball guy, and we're certainly new to being authors, that's for sure. I mean, Bobby is, he went through law school, so he's a whole heck of a lot closer to being an author than I ever was before we wrote this book. But he was like, you can't start off with failure. Like, when someone picks up this book and they read, the first thing they talk about is failing. Like, that's just going to turn people off. And we fought that a little bit as far as like how we were going to lay that book out, because for us, ultimately, that's what this game is about. Like, I've yet to meet any player that ever looks at the game of baseball like, yeah, man, I've just succeeded. And honestly, like, the best players that I've ever coached or been around and have played the game the longest ultimately typically dealt with some sort of failure early on. And that doesn't mean they struggled at the plate when they're 13 or 14 years old, because you got hitters that, they get to college before they realize what a cutter is. And then they're like, oh, this sucks. But
Facts.
they've had an injury, or they've had, a health issue with like some sort of obstacle that has kept them from staying on that straight and narrow line. And that's ultimately why, like, we started off the book that way, because and that's what baseball is. And everybody who knows anything about this game, baseball or softball, like, they know that failure is a massive part of it, and you're meant to fail more than succeed. So
That's right.
That's where we want to be there to pick you up. That's where Who's On First comes into play, where, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, whether it's an injury or dealing with a tremendously bad coach that screams and yells, and we're trying to tell our kid, like, hey, you got to get through this, man. Like, we're not going to let you quit, because if you do quit, that's going to show up later on in your life, whether it's in baseball, softball, basketball, football, your job, whatever it is. Like, so I think ultimately, you know, having some sort of guideline that's step by step throughout the entire career of an athlete, and then beyond, you know, retirement, like that's what we wanted to provide, is like, it's okay to fail. Matter of fact, failing's a good thing. I tell hitters every single day, if you never take a bad swing, you don't ever get better.
That's right.
Because you don't know until you can ultimately figure out why that bad swing showed up, and we get to the root of that problem, whether it's a timing issue, a mechanical issue, a mental issue, whatever that is. If you don't take a bad swing, you're never going to get better. If you don't make a poor decision along the way in your kid's career, guess what? You're not normal. Right? And it's okay to make a bad mistake. It's okay to put a kid on a team where some coach has sold you, hey, we got the magic sauce that your kid's going to play Division I baseball no matter what at a Power 5 if you come and play for us. Well, typically that's going to not be true, but that's the thing, man. Like, there's so many services out there, and there's so much stuff being sold that's so far from the truth, that having something to help keep you on that right track and some sort of resource to go to is that's ultimately what we wanted to do, man, because I know you guys deal with it on a daily basis, and we do as well. So, you know, that's why we want to get this product out to the masses and people to have some resource that'll help.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Hey, John, if you want, we'll send you a copy and look through it, and then maybe we can put them in at Fuel Factory and see what parents are thinking over there.
I'd love to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're trying to get it out to as many facilities that are doing it the right way as possible, and just ultimately get the word out, because the hardest part of writing a book is not writing the book.
That's right. That's facts. That's facts.
And,
that's right. That's the hard part. And, you know, us trying to self-publish and make sure we maintain the rights to our material has been extremely important for us, because we believe that we've got a tremendous product that's going to help a ton of people. And, you know, that's what's awesome about you guys, is giving us the opportunity to be on a platform that you guys have provided and have done, you know, for a while now. And, you know, we're super appreciative to have that opportunity, man. Such good people out there, man. And that's kind of the baseball world, man. It's a tight knit group. And that's what I love about it, man. It's when you need something in this industry, man, if you're plugged into the right people, you're going to find a way to get it. And that's what's so awesome about baseball guys, man.
That's right, man. I 100% agree with that. So yeah, I love it. The reason I love what you guys are doing is because it's about the help, right? It's not about, go to this page, go to this section, go to this. It's like just gather a bunch of information, right? I think that's the hardest part about being an author, right? And writing stuff and trying to get it out there is like, it's, making sure this is about value and not just, hey, I can use this as marketing. And like, that's what I love so much about what you guys are doing. And it's really just like, hey, like, here's all of these things, here's all these pieces of information, and we just want to hand it to you, right? And take it and all that. So I love it. I love what you guys are doing. You guys are both awesome. The game is absolutely better because of both of y'all. So just real quick, for those of y'all that are watching, here's kind of the cover. Got it right here. My blurry's on. It just says who's on first. Yeah. And so it's just and I'll put some links and everything, and I'm actually getting ready to do a review or like do a video on it, talking about it on my page. So if you want some more information about that, I'll do that. But yeah, man, I'm super excited for y'all. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna help in any way I can, because that's how we try and do things, man. So y'all are both awesome. I know y'all are both slammed, and so your time is very valuable. So I want to respect that as well. So, but yeah, so who's on first? I would also just check these guys out as humans. They're in addition to that, right? Because as much as they put into this book, there's probably stuff that didn't get left out or forgotten, right? But maybe it's buried in the subconscious a little bit because these guys know so much. So that's all. That's awesome. I'll put some links in it. Just get it and just look at it, and it's just a wealth of information. So I love it and love supporting you guys. So thank you all for just taking the time. I know how valuable it is, and yeah, I'm pumped about it.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Cameron.
it. One
I
more
really appreciate
thing.
it.
Yeah, and if you guys want to, if you want to go to our website, we have a website dedicated to the book specifically, who'sonfirstbook.com. And if you scroll down on the bottom, click on the Barnes & Noble link, you can purchase it right there. We've had some issues with our Amazon a little bit, so right now we recommend going through Barnes & Noble. We'll have that cleaned up pretty quick, but anyone who's tried to launch a book will understand where Amazon makes that a difficult process. So right now, like I said, who'sonfirstbook.com, scroll down the bottom, click on the Barnes & Noble link, and it's available now. So we appreciate all the support. We appreciate you guys having us on, man. It means the world to us and helping us get out and get our information to help everybody out.
Absolutely, man. That's what it's about, right? That's why we do this deal, right? So I'm proud to know y'all, and I'm super appreciative y'all. This is a big time thing, y'all. So y'all buy it and look at it and get all the resources and all that stuff. It's a big time thing. So y'all are awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Man.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you were able to get a lot out of that. So because of that, make sure that you share this, right? Make sure that you put it out on social media, on your stories. Make sure that you subscribe, give us a 5-star review, because our passion is to see the game grow, and our passion is to see you become the best baseball or softball player that you can. So go ahead and do that for us, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode.